For the people who don't know Joe Malone, Joe is infamous throughout Queensland and a lot of the planet and a lot of Australia, but mostly Queensland, for his preamps. He's a transformer maniac. He builds things like the 99V. The 99V, the 500. What's the model number?
500 series and new stuff coming in.
Yep, and Joe also does a myriad of kits that people can build themselves, or Joe puts them together. The baby animal's really popular. And what's the new thing you were telling me about the other night?
Well, we're about to release the baby animal tube, which is a tube pre that can run on 48 volts. So that basically beginners can build tube stuff and not go and basically kill themselves. So it's all within the modern MEP standard and everything. We've actually sourced all the right power supplies and everything, so they don't have to do anything outside of the legal side of it, basically. So, but it's a tube pre that would run on 48 volts. So.
But weren't you telling me that could run on a battery even?
Oh no, there's several. That's actually a thing for JMC Academy, which is a new pre that they're buying a lot of for all their students. It's going to be they're testing every year for part of their electronics course.
Okay.
They have to build this kit basically. So, and yeah, after our thing yesterday, we talked to the TAFE college and they might actually go ahead with using it as well. But it's the thing, they're building little Dick Smith kits which were great, but the big worry about that in the end was that most people weren't using them for anything, so that was just wasting stuff into the bin.
Sure.
So we've designed a really kind of cheap preamp that can be battery powered. They can upgrade it to something crazy, but it's a transformer and pre with an IC and stuff that they can get going and use it, so they've got a decent pre when they're finished.
Okay.
We've really kind of worked it down to the simplest we can and the cheapest we can for them.
So what goes out of your workshop the most?
500 series.
Okay.
It's just insane.
Okay.
I can understand why everybody calls it the baseball card of audio. People, it just goes crazy, and it's funny. Like, it goes through these surges of stuff, and every time like somebody mentions that we're about to release a whole range of compressors. And they should have really probably been out by now, but I'm just anal about how everything should be before it's actually massed in mass. So we've got the Mu valve compressor going, which is basically, we'll probably hold off to the last. We just found it very confusing for a lot of engineers. We put so much into it for normal recording and mastering that most people just get a bit lost. And it's got so much range, it's unlike most modern gear, you can actually make it distort badly if you don't know what you're doing.
Okay.
So we're a bit kind of wary about what we're going to do with that, but probably the first out will be the FET compressor. Which is like our version of 1176, but modernised through, basically. And
I reckon you'd say better than 1176, yeah?
No, it's cleaner in the way it works and stuff, and it's got a high pass filter, which is the one thing I was lacking when I used to use 1176s.
Okay.
I love them because you don't look at the meter, you just listen, and you'll find that you're sitting at minus 20, 90% of the time.
Sure.
But we've basically tried to get that right, and the hard thing in 500 series is getting actually a VU meter that isn't just wobbling all over the place, giving you no indication, because some people still want to get a rough idea of what they're doing if they're not sure of themselves. But we've actually added high pass filter to the side chain, because the one thing about 1176, it always smashes the low end too much. So you can let the compressor breathe internally by just winding open or pulling the high pass filter and winding the low end out of the side chain, so it's not compressed.
Gotcha.
And it really makes a huge difference. All of our stuff's had that added to it. Literally, the Mu has it on it, and so is this, and we're about to do our LA, which kind of arguing about what features we'll actually have on it, because we had it really elaborate, and I still go back to using our love just compress and output.
You're a transformer nut.
It depends on the stage. If we're tracking, then I want warmth. Everybody's miking way too close, way too harsh microphones, so I'm really into balancing up. The big thing for me when you first use Neves and stuff like that is that you walk in and listen with your ears in the actual studio. We kind of went into this on our article ages ago, but you listen and you get this great fat balance, and you go in and you're listening to the snare back in the control room, and it's just thin because you're not getting that big whole sensation of where your ears are at a distance and the room sound and everything. You kind of fill that in by adding overheads, but usually everything's way too thin, so all our pre's are kind of slowing to try to compensate for how far we've got the mic shoved close to something, basically.
Okay.
and it's getting that balance. We're just trying to, but on the other side, then
So almost as if it's welling up in the transformer.
Yeah, it transient reduces and kind of slows things down to make it sit better, and that's what Neve, the old 1073, it really just sustains things and slows it down. And so you walk in and you go, hey, yeah, that's kind of what I heard in the actual studio. So that's the big thing to me with most things. You walk into the control room, everything's thinner and not the same as you hoped.
Yep.
And literally a lot of it's filled in when you actually listen to the whole drum mixes together. It starts to get better, and if you can get the overheads and all the phasing of that kind of in a ballpark, it helps. But then on the other side, we do mastering gear, which are fanatically pure, and our headphone system in our lunchbox that fits in the API lunchbox we make is just phenomenally flat and clean. And so I want colour where I want it to be, but not when I'm in the monitoring path. I want that to be really neutral and pretty fast usually.
Sure. I know I've passed your name on to a few people, guys that just do mainly vocals and guitars, and they go for a TG 500 and
99V.
And the 99V.
That crosses right over. The Neve...
and they're just so happy with them.
Yeah, the NV kind of thing we've done working on the old Neve 1073, but we went right through it and reworked the circuit, getting variable impedance in there. It almost blends the way we've got the speed of our transformers and stuff now. It's an in-between. It sits right in the middle of the 99V and our TG, kind of the way we do that. But basically it sits right in the middle, but with the variable impedance you can kind of go each way.
Sure.
So, but if you're going to have two pre's, the way we have worked our TG 500, electric guitar is just unbeatable basically.
Yep.
And a lot of guys, there's even the Dallas Crane album, there's a guitar solo which is the DI in on the front with the actual pre just overdriven and the output turned down, and that's the whole, no amp farm, no nothing, that's the distorted guitar sound.
Cool.
So basically you got one of each. That's usually what 99% of people end up with, one of each of those, and maybe the headphone system in the lunchbox. And the 4 slots in the lunchbox that aren't used, we have a little mating connector that just plugs in the back, so those in and out loops actually still appear on the mixer, so you can run your tools back in without any modules in those positions.
Yep.
Which is one of the things that most people go, oh, that's what I need, because they can then basically have a no latency mix for when they're out running around with an M-Box or whatever their small 2 in and out device is.
With transformers that you're using, do you ship those in? Are there a pre-made item?
We actually have the output made here locally, and there's different. We deal with different companies out of UK as well, and unfortunately one of the companies is split in half at the moment, but in the end I think it's going to be a good thing.
Right.
But we also get stuff out of Asia, like I do the Hong Kong trade shows, and it's a matter of honey. Everybody thinks you've got to throw the most expensive bit of gear at it,
Yeah.
and I think that's just because they come from an engineering point of view electrically, but not from a sound engineer point of view. And
so have you got a preference for transformers, or you test everything?
we
that you just
pick
listen
what
to
we
them?
like, and
Yeah.
we really do listen, and there's a definite dollar value thing, but we just find you can find really good transformers. When you're talking about colouring, if you're trying to make a really pure transformer that you want to use without colour, that's really hard, and
Right.
we will really go expensive usually. But basically if you're talking about colouring, you're trying to get the colour and that stuff, so you're actually after an imperfection.
Okay.
It's almost like 2 wrongs make a right on the tracking side. The mic's too close, but then you slow it down and it sounds like you've got more of the room and more sustained things. So transformers it depends on where you're talking about basically, but we use all sorts of sources to try to just get what we want for certain things.
Okay. Joe Malone, electronics whiz extraordinaire from JLM Audio in Brisbane. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.